Hello friends, beneath the iconic blue and red emblem of PepsiCo lies a tale of resilience, triumph, and unexpected twists that beckons to be unveiled. From battling the brink of bankruptcy, not once but twice, to owning naval warships, thereby indirectly becoming the sixth largest naval fleet in the world, this company's journey is anything but ordinary. From audacious promotional campaigns that led to riots and the deaths of at least 5 people to the present day, this company has a tale of its own. This is the same company which went bankrupt during its initial stages between 1922 and 1933, and the Coca-Cola Company had the chance to buy Pepsi-Cola Company on 3 different occasions, but was turned down each time. Today, PepsiCo boasts ownership of over 23 distinct brands, and collectively, these entities generated an astonishing $86.39 billion in revenue in the year 2022, which was twice the earnings achieved by Coca-Cola. So let's dive into the lesser-known story of Pepsi's past. Our journey begins in the late 19th century with a man named Caleb D. Bradham. Born on May 27, 1867, in Chinquapin, North Carolina, USA, he attended the University of Maryland School of Medicine, but had to drop out of the university when his father's business went bankrupt. After that, he briefly worked as a public school teacher before returning to the University of Maryland, this time in the School of Pharmacy. Once he graduated, he opened Bradham's Pharmacy, also known as the Bradham Drug Company, in New Bern. Like other pharmacists of his era, he had a soda fountain in his store where he concocted his own refreshing beverages. Among his creations was a popular mix of carbonated water, caramel, lemon oil, cola nuts, nutmeg, fondly called by his customers as Brad's Drink. With growing popularity and with a hope to duplicate the recent success of Coca-Cola, he renamed it Pepsi-Cola on the 28th of August 1898. As sales increased, Bradham established the Pepsi-Cola Company in 1902 in the back room of his pharmacy and applied to the U.S. Patent Office for a trademark, which was awarded on June 16, 1903. The first Pepsi-Cola newspaper advertisements appeared in the New Bern Weekly Journal in 1902. Bradham's sales strategy revolved around the tagline, "Exhilarating, invigorating, aids digestion." In 1904, Bradham started to sell Pepsi in 6-ounce bottles, and sales increased to 19,848 gallons. As the brand expanded, in 1905, Bradham awarded bottling franchises to independent investors. By 1907, the number of franchises increased to 40. Advertisements featured endorsements from famous car racer Barney Oldfield and the slogan, "Drink Pepsi-Cola, it will satisfy you." By 1910, Pepsi-Cola had franchises in 24 states and was selling over 100,000 gallons annually. However, World War I brought economic challenges, as sugar rationing impacted production and costs rose significantly. During that time, sugar prices soared from 3 cents to 28 cents per pound. Bradham purchased large quantities of the high-priced sugar, believing that sugar prices would continue to rise, but they fell instead, leaving him with an overpriced sugar inventory. This was a major factor to the company's downfall. Pepsi-Cola officially was bankrupt as of May 31, 1923. The brand's assets were acquired by Craven Holding Corporation for $30,000, and Bradham returned to his pharmacy and passed away at age 66 on February 19, 1934. The assets of the company were again bought by Roy C. Megergil from Craven Holding Corporation and with his own funds, made up the deficits the company incurred annually. In 1931, despite his best efforts, the restructured National Pepsi-Cola Company was declared bankrupt for the second time. The Pepsi-Cola assets were then sold to Charles Guth, the president of Loft Inc. This was the time of the Great Depression, and times were tough, and 5 cents was a lot to pay for a 6-ounce soft drink. So, Guth decided to make Pepsi-Cola a great value for hard-pressed consumers. He offered twice as much Pepsi for the same price with 12 ounces a bottle instead of the 6 ounces as other soft drinks. Coming at a time of economic crisis, the campaign succeeded in boosting Pepsi's status. From 1936 to 1938, PepsiCo's profits doubled. And it is acknowledged that without Charles Guth's pivotal contributions, Pepsi might not have thrived as we know it today. After Charles Guth, in 1938, Walter S. Mack was selected to be the new president of Pepsi-Cola. Mack believed that advertising could be a cornerstone of soft drink marketing and introduced a comic strip, Pepsi and Pete, to promote Pepsi's pricing advantage with the line "twice as much for a nickel." In 1940, the Pepsi-Cola Company made history when the first advertising jingle was broadcast nationally on the radio. The jingle was "Nickel Nickel," an advertisement for Pepsi-Cola that referred to the price of Pepsi and the quantity for that price. "Nickel Nickel" became a hit record and was recorded into 55 languages. Mack noticed that the company's strategy of using advertising for a general audience either ignored African Americans or used ethnic stereotypes in portraying blacks. Mack realized that black people were an untapped niche market and that Pepsi stood to gain market share by targeting its advertising directly towards them. They came up with advertising portraying black Americans in a positive light. His efforts for Pepsi-Cola pioneered the concept of niche marketing and allowed Pepsi to substantially increase its market share in the black community. In 1939, World War II began, and this time they came up with a clever plan to stay in business. Pepsi decided to change the colors of their brand to red, white, and blue, the color of the American flag, to show their patriotism. They also set up a campaign called Your Man in Service, where Pepsi installed recording booths all around the United States and also sent a traveling recording booth to other military camps where millions of soldiers were able to create these wonderful audio letters to send to their loved ones. This obviously generated a lot of goodwill and patriotism towards Pepsi. In 1950, Pepsi hired a man named Alfred Steele, the new CEO, who had also worked as the former vice president of Coca-Cola. Under his leadership, the company launched massive advertising campaigns and sales promotions, resulting in an incredible 11-fold increase in net earnings during the 1950s. As a result, Pepsi-Cola became the primary competitor to Coca-Cola. Steele is also credited with helping push the change of the old slogan of "twice as much for a nickel," stating it was a liability to the company, reducing it as the poor man's Coca-Cola. He pushed for them to focus on quality, not quantity. In 1958, the iconic swirl bottle was introduced. Steele introduced Pepsi in developing countries, and Alfred Steele is remembered as one of the most accomplished CEOs in the history of Pepsi. His contributions were instrumental in shaping the brand into its current form. Unfortunately, his tenure was cut short by his untimely death from a heart attack in 1959. In 1962, the cola part of the name was dropped from that brand. After Steele, a man named Don Kendall was hired as CEO. He was an employee of Pepsi Cola Company who rose through the sales ranks. Kendall understood that Pepsi needed to grow, and the simplest way to do that at the time was to break into new countries. Coca-Cola dominated soda sales throughout Europe, as the US Army had essentially brought Coke everywhere it went during World War II. As a result, Kendall sought untouched markets where Pepsi could gain a foothold. Within 6 years, he had doubled the company's international footprint, expanding its reach from 60 countries to nearly 120. Pepsi was trying to gain entry into Russia, and after years of effort in 1971 got the chance when President Nixon initiated peace talks with the Soviets' new chief executive, Alexei Kosygin, which led to an international business conference. Kendall managed to sneak a transistor radio shaped like a Pepsi can through security, and he presented the gift to Kosygin, who thought it was hilarious. The icebreaker proved to be the talking point Kendall needed. The next day, Kosygin gave him the green light to start negotiations to bring Pepsi into the country, but there was one big problem. The Soviet currency, the ruble, was non-convertible. That is, it was worthless outside that Soviet Union. As a result, Kendall and Pepsi had to devise a way to receive payment for the Pepsi plants they were going to build in the country. The two parties decided on a barter agreement, where the Soviets paid for their Pepsi by trading a resource they had in surplus, which was the vodka. In 1974, first Pepsi plant opened in the USSR. Over the next 2 decades, this barter system continued. The Russian vodka was popular in the United States, but when the USSR invaded Afghanistan, the American consumers boycotted it. Thus, Pepsi needed a new way to receive payment for the growing Soviet demand for their Pepsi. In the spring of 1989, Pepsi and the Soviet Union signed a remarkable deal. Pepsi became the middleman for 17 old submarines and 3 warships, including a frigate, a cruiser, and a destroyer, which the company sold for scrap. Pepsi also bought new Soviet oil tankers and leased them out or sold them in partnership with a Norwegian company. In return, the company could more than double the number of Pepsi plants in the Soviet Union. But that was nothing compared to 1990's $3 billion deal. It was the largest deal ever brokered between an American company and the Soviet Union, and Pepsi hoped it would spur more expansion. Instead, the Soviet Union fell in 1991, taking with it Pepsi's deal of the century. After the breakup of USSR, Coca-Cola aggressively entered the former Soviet Union, and Pepsi struggled to keep its advantage. However, Russia is still Pepsi's second biggest market outside of the United States. And over the years, Pepsi expanded its presence in Russia. Like in 2008, PepsiCo bought the majority of shares in Russia's largest juice manufacturer, and then acquired another huge Russian brand, Wimbil Dan Foods, which made PepsiCo the largest food and beverage manufacturer in Russia. However, in 2022, that all changed after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and so Pepsi stopped manufacturing in Russia. In 1965, Pepsi-Cola merged with Frito-Lay Inc., and together they became a new corporation called PepsiCo. The newly enlarged company diversified further with the purchase of 3 restaurant chains, Pizza Hut Inc. in 1977, Taco Bell Inc. in 1978, and KFC in 1986. But in 1997, the restaurant chains were spun off into a new separate company called Tricon Global Restaurants Inc. Looking to add more products that were considered healthier, PepsiCo acquired the Tropicana and Dole Juice brands from the Seagram Company in 1998, and in 2001 it merged with the Quaker Oats Company to form a new division, Quaker Foods and Beverages. With the merger, PepsiCo's popular brands included Pepsi, Frito-Lay snack products, Lipton tea, Tropicana juices, Gatorade sports drinks, Quaker Oats cereals, and Rolled Gold pretzels. Pepsi's marketing strategies have often yielded sales growth, yet occasional controversies have led to sales setbacks. An illustrative case is the Pepsi Number Fever campaign launched by PepsiCo in the Philippines in February 1992 with the aim of driving sales and engagement. The campaign introduced special bottle caps with numbers corresponding to diverse cash prizes, from small amounts to a staggering 1 million pesos. This concept ignited public interest, turning it into a nationwide sensation. Pepsi's monthly sales surged from $10 million to $14 million, and its market share escalated from 19.4% to 24.9%. The winning numbers were unveiled nightly on television, with 51,000 prizes redeemed by May 1992, including 17 grand prizes. The campaign even extended beyond its initial end date of May 8th. However, the situation took a turn when a grand prize number, 349, was announced on May 25th. Grand prize winning bottle caps had rigorous controls, featuring both the winning number and a security code for verification. However, before the contest was extended to add new winning numbers, 800,000 regular caps with the number 349 without security codes had already been produced. This theoretically accounted for an astounding combined value of $32 billion. Thousands clamored to Pepsi bottling plants to claim prizes, leading to confusion when it was revealed that these misprinted caps lacked verification codes. An emergency meeting led to a goodwill gesture of 500 pesos, $18, compensation for those holding the misprinted caps, which was accepted by over 486,000 people, costing PepsiCo $8.9 million. Disgruntled holders of the 349 misprinted caps formed the 349 Alliance, initiating a Pepsi product boycott and peaceful rallies. Tragedy struck with bombings and fatalities, sparking allegations against PepsiCo. A settlement was eventually reached, involving smaller cash payouts and compensations. Despite controversies, setbacks, and the ever-evolving market landscape, Pepsi stands strong as the largest global soft drink company, a testament to its enduring legacy and remarkable journey. Thank you for joining us on this captivating exploration of Pepsi's rise from adversity to global dominance. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more intriguing stories and insights. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the world of business and history.